Welcome to the Learning Engineering Podcast. I am Dr. Scotty Craig, your host. Today, I'm very excited for us to be joined by Dr. Danielle McNamara as our guest. And also joining me today as my co-host is Seun Lee.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your co-host today, Mei. I go by Mei, and I'm a PhD candidate in human system engineering working with Scotty at Arizona State University. And currently, I'm working as a design intern at a University Design Institute at ASU. I can't wait to dive into Danielle's experience in learning engineering today. Hey, Scotty, do you want to introduce Danielle
Well,
for us?
I will yes, thank you, Mei. So we are joined today by Dr. Danielle McNamara, who I'm actually going to let her introduce herself, but she is a professor of psychology at Arizona State University, among one of her many, many other titles. Um, but Danielle, if you would, could you please introduce yourself and just kind of focusing on what is your current position and also your expertise in training as relevant to the area of learning engineering?
Thank you, Scotty. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Happy to talk about my experiences and my past in learning engineering as well as the future. I'm a professor of psychology at ASU. Currently, I'm the executive director of the Learning Engineering Institute, which we are launching this spring. We've been working on launching it along with Scotty and Scotty Craig here with us and Rod Roscoe. So that's a very exciting endeavor that we're jumping into. Prior to taking on this executive leadership role for the Learning Engineering Institute, I was just a professor, and I've been developing educational technologies for the past almost 30 years, and focusing quite a bit on comprehension and writing and literacy and helping students to improve their literacy skills. And so my background was in cognitive science. Originally, actually, I had a linguistics degree, and then I had a master's in clinical psychology, and then I got an experimental psychology degree. So combined together, it helped me to focus on research to understand comprehension and writing. And then I was really focused on developing technologies that I thought could help to support students and instructors as they help us struggling readers and writers to do better in school and and to be more successful. And so we've been developing tutoring technologies that integrate natural language processing, much like the leveraging those large language models that everyone is talking about right now. We've been working with those small large language models for some 25 years or so, and leveraging those so we can essentially communicate with students and give them feedback in natural ways. And so I've also been developing natural language processing tools to help researchers to be able to analyze text. And so now what we're doing is putting together the kinds of things that we've been doing, but on a larger scale at ASU, so that we can leverage learning engineering principles to enhance student outcomes.
That's really fascinating. And it's kind of funny, even during your overview, I was like, I know Danielle. I was like, no, I'm learning things about Danielle just like the audience. I will say it's kind of funny right now. You brought up, doing work with natural language processing, these large language models or small language models over the years. It's always funny because right now it is the big thing. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody wants to know more about Gen AI and these language models that are supporting it. Well, they want more usually Gen AI than the language models. A lot of people don't want to go into the detail on what's happening underneath. But I found that it's always surprising with people when I'm like, yeah, this is not new technology. It's like we've been doing work in this area for 25, 30 years at least.
Uh-huh.
Um, and some of those like older projects, and which don't seem that old to me, but from like 20 years ago, I mean, like you've done some great things. Um, and a lot of things people are like excited about now. And it's like, well, we did that 20 years ago, and now it's just gotten easier for everybody to do it.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah, and that's been the dream. When the LSA site was created, when Cometrics was created, when all of these things were created, it was really to try to build an open source model to give access. And so now that access is just amazing in the sense of, one of the tools that we built is Cometrics, and the reason that provides natural language features to researchers so that they can analyze text more easily or at all. Because when I was, in the night, sitting around in the 90s, if I wanted to count words, I had to count words. And if I wanted to count nouns, I had to count nouns. And if I wanted to know the concreteness score, I had to open a book that was on my shelf, look up the concreteness score for each word and write them down. And so that's what I thought was a little bit ridiculous. And so that's why we
you're giving
created.
me flashbacks, Danielle.
Yeah. Did you have the same book, the frequency book? And the age of acquisition. I had an age of acquisition book
And
with all of the age of acquisition scores.
yeah, if I never have to go through like counting words again, like here's a noun, here's a noun, here's a noun, I will be very
Yeah.
happy. Um,
Yeah. But now, and so we created Chrometrics for that, and a lot of people use that, and we have created so many other tools to do, subparts of that, thousands of cohesion scores, thousands of lexical scores, etc. And so, and in that, building large language models, largely in order to understand text, so the semantic side, so combining those language features with the semantics that could be extracted using large language models, always knowing that eventually we would have generative models that would be able to automatically respond. We knew it was coming, but in the meantime, we faked it by creating pools of natural feedback generated by experimenters that were cued by algorithms that would say, okay, at this point, say this. And so it was kind of like a Wizard of Oz kind of phenomenon. And so now we can combine those models, the models that can check for accuracy and linguistics, and also assess, comprehension, etc., combined with generative transformer models that will, and that's the magic of generative AI. Even like, you think about the visual generative AIs that can produce pictures. I just cannot express strongly enough that where we were as near back as 2008, because I was thinking about getting into that field as well. We had no means of doing any type of visual recognition. And we've gone from there to automatic facial recognition that's virtually perfect, and the ability to generate pictures and art, and no matter what. So I don't know, it's a magical day.
Yeah, it is, and very exciting. Now, Danielle, while you were talking, you did mention a couple sites where you mentioned LSA and also the Cometric site.
Yeah.
So just very briefly, for our audience, in case they don't know what LSA is, what is LSA?
Well, LSA was derived from LSI, which is a latent semantic index. So, and this was mainly developed by Tom Landauer and Susan DeMay. And I was fortunate enough to be at Colorado, University of Colorado, when Tom resigned from the Baby Bell and came to Colorado. And so got some first glimpses at LSA at that point. So LSA is a system of, it's a large language model, a very small large language model that essentially creates a latent space based on the terms and documents, and then compresses that using singular what's it called? Singular, I'm at a loss of words. Anyway, it uses this map thing and compresses it down to like 300 dimensions. That's usually the first few dimensions that hold all the information, but there's some scattered information in the rest. And so essentially you can find out where a document or a term lies within this 300 dimensional space. And then from there, calculate cosines on the angle between these terms and documents to know whether or not they are semantically related.
Okay, great.
And that's essentially what large language models are doing. And the generative transformer models are just able to use both backwards and forwards processing, as well as have larger spaces. It's has a larger amount, takes in a larger amount of information.
Great. And as far as the Cometric site that you mentioned, because I figure maybe some of our audiences may be interested in using that. Is that still an active site that is up?
I would say it's semi-active. We're doing our best. We got blocked by ASU firewall, so we're kind of dealing with that. It was living at Memphis and ASU. The Memphis site got shut down. They're trying to restart it though. Yeah. And then we are still struggling with server space, and I'm not sure where we're at in getting the program to work, but we are definitely trying to provide the downloadable tool to everyone, at least.
No, that's great. Yeah, I didn't realize. That's actually interesting. It's like there's some drama. I didn't realize I'd get on the show.
Oh yeah, there's been lots of drama.
I know there has been, but so yeah, if that site ever does come up, just let me know and I can actually post it with this podcast so that our audience can get access to it. Now let's kind of shift gears just a little.
Well, let me interrupt just a second. There is a site on my website that gives a list of tools, so access to various tools. I mean, you don't necessarily need Cometrics to do NLP analyses. We've got lots of downloadable tools that allow people to do natural language processing. And then I just want to throw in, you can also just ask ChatGPT now. Just ask it to count all the words and the nouns. And
that's true. That is definitely true. But yeah, we'll actually make sure we give that link also out to those tools when we release this. So now if we can kind of shift gears a little bit, so we can talk a little bit more about your learning engineering journey. So how did you come to learning engineering? How did you find out about it? What areas did most like resonated with you to pull you into this kind of new field that's just kind of just been forming?
Well, I would say that learning engineering is a title for lost souls. I think that I've been a learning engineer since I started developing technologies. So it was in the late 90s when we started really getting into technology development and putting together the various trainings I'd had as an instructor. I taught English as a second language for quite some time in France. and expertise in cognitive science and human factors from Colorado, and also training in educational research, mostly from my postdoctoral experience because I had a training grant from the McDonald Foundation. So I was exposed to, and with the, I had a postdoc and then a career grant in the McDonald Foundation, where I was working with all of the greats, the Scartamani, Bereiter, and Susan Goldman and Pellegrino, and all of the early founders of EdTech. And so I consider that a large part of my training as well, that then I carried over into a career development award where it was the precursor to developing iStart. And so when we started developing iStart, I would consider that probably my first foray into what we now call learning engineering. And
question for you. Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
Because it's such great information. But what is iStart? Our audience may not know.
Yeah, so iStart.
Let's make sure they do.
iStart was born from a program that I developed, which was first one-on-one and then one-to-many in classrooms for self-explanation reading training. And so our objective was to turn that into an automated program. The reason for developing iStart, which is interactive strategy training for active reading and thinking, was because it was just so hard to administer self-explanation reading training. I run these experiments and the TV, that was a point where you used the TV, right? So the TV wouldn't work, to show the videos, and or the room would be locked, or an experimenter wouldn't show up, or it was just like, this is not aligned with my training. I'm a cognitive scientist. I need to develop technologies. And so that's why we developed that, with the notion that, so I remember writing the iStart grant, and we had to write in this promise that we could do automated feedback, but no one had ever done automated feedback before. And so it was literally one paragraph. One paragraph saying, we're going to use LSA to give automated feedback, and it's going to work. That's what it's going to do. It's going to work.
They believed you.
They believed me. And so, and the reason I would call this my first learning engineering project is because it was with, a collaboration between educators and who were in the field of teaching comprehension strategies, in the field of obviously cognitive science, but also computer science. So in the first year of the project, the computer scientists and the group, really just decided to sit down and have level setting. Let's just, we're not going to just take self-explanation reading training and put it into a computer. We have to figure out what the affordances are of the program, and how we're going to translate that, and how, what our goals are. So we didn't do anything for a year. We just planned. And now not all of that planning was great, because for example, we decided to use Microsoft Agents. And
I remember Microsoft Agents.
Yeah, and we used, another one is Java, right? So Java, and Java is the bane of my existence. This is like Java 3. Oh no, Java 6 can't read Java 3. Java 6. Oh no, Java 9 can't read Java 6. So finally got rid of Java, and anyway, it's been from one programming nightmare to another where iStart has been reprogrammed 3 times completely. So I view that as the first learning engineering project just because it was iterative, it had multiple components, it was multidisciplinary, it was pluralistic in the sense that there wasn't one theory driving it. There was theories on skill acquisition driving many aspects of it. There was theories on comprehension, theories on human factors and computer science, and of course, AI made its way into it, which I didn't know it was AI.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing AI well before we knew what AI was.
Yeah. And again, that's similar to like with learning engineering. A lot of people have actually been doing learning engineering long before they knew what learning engineering was.
Right.
And same thing with AI too. It kind of runs in parallel. But kind of coming back to learning engineering and path towards learning engineering. So I was wondering if you could just talk about like a little bit more about like learning engineering. When did you first hear about it? When did you first
I have
remember?
I have no idea. I have looked at that question as I have no idea. I do know when I didn't know about it, but I don't know when I did. So I moved to Arizona in around 2011. That's when I came to ASU. And at that point in time, I was at a bit of a juncture of being asked to join the Learning Sciences Institute. And when I was first asked that question, I kind of looked to both sides of me going, am I a learning scientist? And then I'm like, okay, I guess I am. Okay, I'll be a learning scientist. But I got here and someone told me I wasn't, so didn't qualify. And that's kind of a pervading issue of learning sciences is there's a qualification threshold, whereas for learning engineering, there's not. Anyone can engage in learning engineering. It's an open field. So that's why I call it the community for lost souls. But another identity crisis I had was being in the cognitive science group. And really, I don't consider myself a learning scientist or a cognitive scientist or a computer scientist or a linguist or none of these categories really capture what I do and what I've always been doing. And so I decided to call myself an interdisciplinary behavioral scientist.
That's nice. It's a term.
It's a thing. It's a thing I made up.
It's a little long.
Yeah, it's a little long. It did not gel. Like no one bought it. Like no one ever bought this term from me. I tried to sell it. I even tried to sell it on Facebook. Nobody took it up. So I think the beauty of the term learning engineering is it really captures a lot of different aspects of the kinds of work that I've been doing. It captures one of the most important ones is that almost all of the projects that I've ever engaged in are multidisciplinary, but and I would say transdisciplinary in the sense of really combining and taking into considerations many theoretical perspectives and empirical findings while you're doing the work and trying to see things from different vantage points. It really takes into consideration user-centered design. So involving, I have always been doing a lot of tech development. I do a lot of basic research too, but one of the most important things I've learned is the importance of user-centered design and involving the users in that process. And I will not say I won't make the same mistakes again, but it I think one of the problems is even if you do, you're always only including a subset, and then there's going to be another subset. And then there's temporality. So what a user needs now is not what they'll need in 10 years.
Yes.
So anyway, it's very complex. The process of developing these, technologies, particularly for education and for literacy. And I've been involved in these multiple aspects of it for so long in, like developing an interface, developing the underlying pedagogy, developing and the experiments to test it on different kinds of experiments that are constantly going, informal assessments, iterative design. And the iterative design cues me to remember my first IES grant where we were required to put in that iterative design. And so that's when it was like mid 2000s where we really started thinking, well, this is silly. Why do I have to draw this out? But really drawing out that iterative process of ideation and testing and then implementation and then iteratively going through that cycle.
Yeah, that's great, Danielle. Thank you. Now, and the one thing I wanted to say is that it's a couple themes, that have been coming up, similar to what you just said. So it's kind of nice to see these things kind of echoed by a lot of experts in the area. Both, one thing I'll say for myself, that realization of the need for like user design and what I usually refer to is the design sciences. So I always tell people like, I've been on projects where we have had amazing computer science, educational theory, great evaluation, and built some amazing systems that were not always that useful, and had not had the impact they could have because we ignored the design sciences. So I just kind of want to echo that, what you said. It's like, yeah, I mean, I had that same journey, that like it took a while before I realized what that missing piece was. Now, we've actually already talked about a lot of projects that you've done over the years, and actually we could probably dedicate an entire like podcast series on project alone. So maybe that'll be a spin-off series. We can talk about it. But are there any specific learning engineering projects that you would like to talk about, as far as any specific one? Like it could be stuff you've already talked about, you want to give more detail on, or any other things that you're working on more currently? Because we talked a lot about a lot of your work. Anything more recent?
Yeah, I think that might be a cue to talk about the Learning Engineering Institute, or at
Well,
least
it could be.
door.
Talk about the Learning Engineering Institute now, or you could talk about if you have any other current projects that you're working on that you want to talk about. Either one.
Like I have time for something else other than the Institute right now?
Well, Dale, you have it's hard for me to.
We have a few projects going on.
You have like how many? I don't know. I can't even count them. I don't have that many fingers.
Yeah. I mean, we're the projects that we have going on are, one of the things is developing an iStart early. So an iStart for early comprehenders, which is a game-based system. And so we'll be wrapping that project up this year. It's hopefully we'll have a finished product by the end of the year. That's our fingers crossed.
Yes.
And we've also been developing a writing analytics tool. So that's a tool that provides indices more specific to writing. Cometrics was specific to text difficulty, and Watt is specific to writing. In that journey, in working with the teachers as our users, it's a tool built for researchers, teachers, and students. we learned a lot in our focus groups in what they really want, and what, working out what kinds of features and what kinds of things they need, and how they don't really want algorithms. And we really need to be thinking more toward, I think the field thinks more toward recommender systems rather than tutoring systems, and disjoint systems that you can use parts of rather than integrated systems like iStart that has everything in one tool. So now that we've, for example, created iStart, now I want to break it apart and put it out there in its different pieces. Same thing with WritingPal, which is the writing tutoring system that provides writing strategy training as well as automated writing feedback. And then what else are we doing? We've got some projects on multiple document comprehension, so that's a big deal. And then we've been working on algorithms that allow us to assess literacy during games. And that's also wrapping up. That was an O&R project, but one of my students, Katerina, is working on that for her master's thesis. And basically the notion is, how can we use stealth assessment to assess literacy skills, which would better inform us on what kinds of instruction that they need. All of this kind of wraps around and leads into the larger project that I've been working on, which is the Learning at Scale project. I've been working for about 2 years on developing a platform that allows researchers to access and analyze student and course data from ASU, and also conduct experimental studies at ASU. And so we're developing, and leveraging platforms to be able to conduct experiments. We're putting together data tables. We're figuring out how to, what data is necessary, and how to combine them and build the tools so that they can be accessed and stored. The main concern is student privacy. So we deal with a lot of lawyers, getting admin together. And so it's a lot of meetings that are bringing people from across this massive university together to collectively think about how we want to share student data, but how can we do that safely and securely and such that it does not violate student privacy. And so it's very complex. The wonderful thing is that ASU is the perfect place to do this, in the sense that it is really the overall mission to provide an education for all students, and to really have a diverse, serve a diverse population of students. And most people at most staff, most faculty at ASU have really drunk the Kool-Aid, so to speak, and are on board for this mission. And so that really helps the mission of developing this Learning at Scale platform. But then also this has worked into developing the, forming the Learning Engineering Institute, which is geared around conducting these studies and how to conduct these iterative studies that are focused on problems and issues. And that's one of the defining characteristics I think of as learning engineering, is that it maybe distinguishes it from learning sciences, in the sense that learning sciences is focused on largely on theory development and testing theories and empirical evidence for various things, whereas learning engineering is focused on, in my mind, problem solving. So identifying what problems there are, and then tackling it from multiple perspectives, and thinking about how those multiple perspectives may help to solve that problem.
Thank you for that, Danielle. Now, what would be kind of the 2 to 3 lessons learned that you think would be important for our listeners to hear, like if they were just starting out?
I thought I had an answer for this, and now I don't.
I think that's a
Lessons.
really important lesson learned right there. Uh,
Yeah.
it's important. We don't always humans are
You don't
blank.
always have the answers. And unfortunately, you're just not gonna not repeat mistakes. You really have to have an open mind and be willing to take risks and not fear. Be a little fearless. I've always often said this is not heart surgery, which was ironic because then I ended up having heart surgery. But so the the I guess one piece of advice I often give is that you need to let yourself dream of what could be and open your mind up to imagining the impossible and thinking about how to move forward in that space. So, but that's not for everyone. I mean, some people are just more comfortable in the iterative process of designing very well designed experiments and testing theory, and that's good. I mean, we need that. We need those. We need that research. We need that basic research. We need that iterative design of experiments. It's never been my forte. I'm a messy researcher.
Okay. I don't want to answer the question for you, Daniel, but from an outsider, your journey is like so inspiring, like, and then amazing. I'm just feel like, I guess it's like inspire me as a student in the way like you are tracing the passion that you have because you are doing this literacy research or the linguistic related research that build on your past experience as um, teacher. You teach English for French people, and that's all the way like you focus on writing, and then you build the tool for increase writing, all that stuff. I feel like that's just like you build on what your experience are, and then you just tracing that and then trying to improve that stuff. I think that's inspired for me. Like I have my own unique experience for my background, for my cultural, and I guess I just like doing things, just follow my own way, like not ignore, like just do not like follow other people's way, like what's hot right now, and then I'm just gonna change my gear to do what hot right now, like. But that's not that's just not the way that it should be. You just follow whatever you're built on your past experience. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's what I hear. Like I'm that's inspiring for me.
Yeah, the thanks for that, Mimi. I would say one rule of thumb is really to do things you're passionate about. So I would often ask about someone like, why do you care about that? Why do you want to be doing that? Very often a mistake students make is, or even faculty make, is to strive toward the end goal. I've seen very unhappy faculty whose goal was to get tenure. And then you get tenure and it's very unsatisfying. And or to get an award. Awards are very unsatisfying in and of themselves. So it's the process that matters. It's what you're doing. It's what you care about. That's not to say I've always got to been able to do exactly what I want. I've had to, read the tea leaves along the way. And, it's kind of like how to get a grant, how to get Writing Pal. Writing Pal is the writing strategy tutoring system that was that I've been working on for since about 2008. I wrote that grant 6 times. And it was actually funded on the 5th time because the 6th one was not funded. And and then we got multiple follow-up grants for that. But it's about, figuring out what's needed. So, we've talked about user-centered design. One of our users is the government. What does the government need? It's not just a call. It's a need. It's an expression of need. They have gathered all the information to know what people need. And when you're answering a call, you're thinking, well, what am I doing in this space that could fit that need? You're not selling yourself. You're actually trying to meet the needs of the people who are willing to give the funding. And that's largely what happened when I jumped into the space of the learning at scale project. I was at a point in my career where I could do basically the same thing, keep doing the same thing, just write grants, get funding, and write papers. I do it pretty well. And so I could keep doing that and coast along. And I went on many hikes just going, should we do this? This is going to drastically change my life. And the do this was to write the Learning at Scale grant, which was to say I was jumping into this muckety muck of this large, very large problem of creating basically a tutoring system for 150,000 people. Not, in the sense of a system that puts together data, has algorithms, is holistic. I consider our job to be holistic learning engineering in the sense that at ASU, we're not going to just tackle learning principles. We have to think about the whole learner. And all of the different problems someone might face that could affect persistence and retention and success as a student. And so, that was a questioning point for me. And that was a questioning point I posed to ASU. It's like, do you really want to do this? Because if I do this, we're going to do it. And so, but everyone was really, on board. And that's been very, it's exciting. It's really changed what I'm doing on a day basis enormously. So all to answer the question, I don't remember what the question was other than pointers. It's just like, I guess my main pointer would be, if you're not having fun, fix it. Have fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But that's what gets us going. That's what keeps us going in this area.
Yeah.
Having fun and solving problems.
Right.
That's what we do as learning engineers.
Yes.
Exactly. That's why
maybe that's a good line, May.
Yeah.
Luckily, she
Yeah, exactly.
What I said.
I'm looking over the window to see my supervisor over there because I'm working at the University Design Institute. I told them I am so excited to come to the office to work every day. If on Monday, I'm can't fall asleep on Sunday because I know I'm coming to the office on Monday. They said, that's amazing as supervisor to hear we can offer you that. I'm like, oh yeah, I just feel so exciting to do things that we're doing here. So that's the dream kind of job you want to do whenever it's for a job, it's a project, whatever. You just so exciting you can't even fall asleep. That type of deal.
Well,
yes.
You often get the question, what do you do in your free time? And it's it's viewed as a negative for somebody who doesn't have hobbies. Now, I do have some hobbies, but if I had a choice for free time, I might probably write, which means what do you do in your free time? I work. But if you ask that of an artist and they said, I paint, you wouldn't be critical of them or call them, a work addict.
Workaholic. Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, I consider our work as learning engineers to be art.
I like that. That's actually a really good way of looking at it. Now, I want to be kind of conscious of the time. But so, Danielle, is there anything else that you would like to add or promote to our audience?
Well, I think we're promoting the Learning Engineering Institute. I
Thing to promote.
Yeah,
I'm
I
biased.
I
It's wonderful to promote, but
and Scotty's a big part of that, and we are, really hoping to make connections with learning engineers around the world and help to promote the community of learning engineering. We'll be we have the Icicle conference in just 12 days, 11 days. And that's exciting. That's going to be at CMU. I'm looking forward to that. And then next year, we will be holding the Icicle conference at ASU. Fingers crossed. We're still in the planning stages. And so we're really setting off on this journey of helping to grow the field of learning engineering and the resources around it and promote it, and to overall create resources to enhance learning and to better understand learning.
well, thank you so much for joining us today, Danielle. This has been a wonderful conversation. I mean, we could actually probably keep going for multiple episodes, just talking. Just if we just started talking about like previous things, places that we actually worked at before and projects, we could probably.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about Memphis.
I know we haven't. That's why I was like,
Yeah.
amazing. We made it through the whole episode, and
And then we failed. We ended up talking about Memphis. So yeah, so one note on Memphis. One thing that's been really, really cool is, as I mentioned, Scotty and Rod are the co-directors for the Learning Engineering Institute. And Rod came with me from Memphis as he was a postdoc in Memphis and came as a research scientist, and then was hired as a professor. And Scotty too came from the University of Memphis, worked with Art Gracer and Cheng-Yen Hu and many other people, and developing systems for math and other, all the things that you've done, innumerable things. And so coming together from, bringing together this team we were in the Institute for Intelligent Systems. I was the director when I left. And that really kind of set the stage. It's very highly related to what we're doing now.
It is, and I'm excited as we kind of embark in this new journey within the learning engineering area, and I'm excited that we're able to promote it, which is also the point of this podcast. And Danielle, I want to thank you for your time today and meeting with us and talking with us. It's been a wonderful conversation. I know I've learned a lot, and I think that our audience has learned a lot also. And so on behalf of the podcast, Danielle, again, thank you. Thank you, May, for joining us today as co-host. And thank you to our audience for joining and listening to this today. And I will hopefully talk to you next time on the next episode of the Learning Engineering Podcast.
Thank you so much, Scotty.